Hey everyone, it's Jim
and Charles
from Valves and More, an online vintage tube store. And today, in Tube Lab number 146, we're going to talk about upgrading your turntable. But first, caution everyone, electronics and tube amplifiers can have very high voltages present, which can be lethal. Exercise extreme caution when working around them. Always consult a professional technician when in doubt. Okay, now I know this isn't about tubes, but every once in a while we do a lab that's about audio, just not tubes. Well, actually, we're going to listen to the upgraded turntable on all tube gear. So that counts, eh? So, I've always loved vinyl. Everything about it. The artwork, the smell of a record store, the sonics, just about everything except the actual playing. Of all the sources you could choose, and there are many these days, vinyl is the biggest pain in the you-know-what to set up properly for the best sonics. Setup is critical. Leveling the table, cartridge alignment, everybody gets that. But if you're like me, I've always been careful how much I spend on my gear and what I spend that money on. So when I got back into vinyl, I researched and found what I hoped would be the best of the budget tables. And time has proven that to have been a good choice, but lots still could have been improved. So let's take a look at the improvements I've put in over time. Now this all started when my original motor died. This is a 15 volt DC motor. And it ran really quite good, but it had a lot of hours on it. And eventually it kicked the bucket.
Right in the middle of us testing the phono, of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was a pain. And then of course we couldn't find a new motor. And this is the little switch mode. Right? A switch mode just takes AC from the wall and switches it over to DC. And as you can tell, this is not a very sophisticated, well, it's probably quite a sophisticated device. It doesn't have a lot of current draw, so it doesn't have to be very large. But it's a very simple little power supply. Anyways, Pro-Ject, I think, changed over to an AC motor, probably because they were having problems with these DC motors. There's quite a little electronics board inside of here.
Mm-hmm. And AC motors actually used to be a lot more common in turntables, didn't they?
I think they were all pretty much, but I don't know actually. I'm not an expert on that, so I really shouldn't comment. Anyways, eventually we got a new motor in, and then this power supply, of course, is DC, and this motor is this is a DC setup. The new motor is AC. 15 volts AC, and so now it needs an AC power supply, which is actually not that common, not 15 volts anyways.
So we had to go looking for one.
Yeah, and that just started this whole ball rolling. So let's go and take a look at the actual turntable, and we'll talk a little bit about the things I've done to it over the years. And through the magic of editing, we'll be there in a second, won't we, Charles?
Here we go.
Okay, so we're in our listening room, and this is a Pro-Ject RPM Genie, and when I originally got it, it came with this awful felt mat, and that, let me see if I can show you. I gotta be careful because we've got one of, well, the most expensive record I've ever bought we're gonna listen to in a minute. I found somebody had a nice anti-static mat, you know, locally for $8 or $10 or something, so I cycled over and grabbed that, and I've been using that ever since, and it's actually a really nice mat, and you can't beat the price. And so the original Pro-Ject came with an Ortofon OM10 mounted, and that's the little slender, you know, alien looking spaceship like thing, and that cartridge sounds awful. If you're just getting back into vinyl and you've never heard vinyl before, you'll be blown away. But after a little while, it's like, something's got to sound better than this. And I found something that sounds a lot better. This is a Nagaoka, so made in Japan. This is not the bottom of the line, but the next up from the bottom. This is their MP110. And oh my God, this cartridge, it's very musical, it's dynamic, it has good range, doesn't seem to have any, foibles, nothing that it does, that it has problems with. Watch your hands, Jimmy, watch your hands. And I just love this cartridge. In fact, I'm now on, I think, my third, and I've got a spare for it. The only thing I don't like about this cartridge is that replacing the stylus is not easy. In fact, I've had as many failures as successes. So now I just replace the whole cartridge. This stylus is, it's like 30% less than the cartridge. So give up on that. The fit is so snug that, and it's not easy. On this type of turntable, the head shell is not demounted. It's all one extrusion here, which has its advantages and disadvantages. But anyways, so I love my Nagaoka, and I have in mind an improvement, but that'll mean a second turntable, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that. So the next thing I found that I absolutely love is this record weight. Oh my God, there's a machinist in Eastern Europe somewhere who makes these things, probably on the side, when the plant's not operating or busy. And they're not cheap, but it is fabulous. I'm going to just mount it here. It's just the perfect thing. And as I was mentioning earlier in the show, this had to go, and the replacement I found was expensive. It was a small AC to AC transformer, and they weren't cheap. They were, I think it was $40 or something like that, and it's not worth $40. And I thought, well, why don't I see if I can get a much better power supply and spend a little bit of money, a little more money. So for, I don't know, $125, something like that, I got this amazing power supply, a little toroidal transformer in it, and rock steady, and wow, I couldn't believe it. Every step of the upgrading to this little turntable, and this is not an expensive turntable, folks. Every step has improved it, and this, I thought, yeah, maybe a better speed regulation will improve it, but how much of a difference could that possibly make? Because we had checked the speed on the old motor, and it was pretty much dead nuts on, but there may have been some wow and flutter, when the speed slows up and speeds up and slows down. It's tough to detect and without good accurate measuring equipment if it's slight, and there must have been some, because when I put this box on, wow, it improved again. But it could have been psychosomatic. Psychosomatic is sort of when you see it in your mind as an improvement, and then you hear an improvement, right? So it's not real. So it's always possible. But I'm happy. And I'm also happy that none of these upgrades cost any serious money. But over time, they've brought essentially what is a good quality budget turntable and made it, I think, quite a bit better. So without further ado, let's listen to my favorite all-time jazz album, and I have many favorite jazz albums, but Kinda Blue is top of the heap, and this is the Analog Productions 45 RPM reissue, and they did a superb job of it. I have some problems with Analog Productions, but they're not related to the quality of what they're doing. So without further ado, let's spin her up and hear what she sounds like. And of course, we're going to be listening to this is going to be the Kit Phono Preamp. It's in its final iteration or final revision or version, and we're playing it through, of course, an all tube system. You can't see it over here, and I don't know if Charles can pan over for us, but way over here we've got the revised Universal Pre with the Mystery 6SN7s. I I think people need a bit more of a hint because nobody put a suggestion in the box. So these were made in the 1930s. So maybe now you're starting to catch on. So anyways, when we actually record, we're going to stop here. We're going to pick it up off of the universal phono preamp. We're not going to do the whole system through the speakers. That's a little insane. It's tough to record properly, but and direct off the pre is probably a cleaner sound. Wow, I love that track. That's got a. In fact, I can remember Miles Davis was later in life. Miles Davis was recorded live in concert somewhere. I forget where, and someone in the audience yelled out, "So what?" Now this is like decades after Miles's breakthrough iconic album, Kind of Blue. And he paused and he said to the audience, he said, "Man, everybody loves that. So what?" And then, of course, he didn't play it because, Miles was all about innovation and moving forward. And for him, that had been something great, but it wasn't necessarily something he wanted to be playing at every concert. He wanted to play his new stuff. Anyways, so there's, depending on the table you've got in your system, you may want to upgrade your platter, the belt, the bearing. It goes on and on and on. The cables from the cartridge back, the patch cords, the RCA patch cords you're using to get over to your Phono Pre. I mean, the list is endless. I was just giving you sort of a taste for what I'd done to my Pro-Ject table to just give you an idea of what can be done practically with very little expense, and will make just huge improvements in sound. So Charles, we've got we go through these periods with tubes coming in which we have huge finds. Like we're just giddy we're almost giggling with delight, aren't we, at what we found. And other times we're like totally depressed and
there's nothing coming in. You can't find any good tubes.
And it's just like, is this the end? Will we never find another good tube? And we've just gone through a period in which we found lots.
Yeah, we still have some good stuff on the way in too, but
it's all en route, right? So it won't be here for weeks. But it'll start to trickle in maybe in a week or two.
Yeah.
But we did get some nice stuff. So what did we get?
All right. Well, let's show off this guy here first. Of course, we've got a classic vintage Sylvania 6550C. Not the new production, and easiest way to tell right away is, does it have the rectangular holes in the plate? And these, for a little while, got incredibly difficult to find. We weren't finding anything at all.
And we've sold hundreds of them.
We've sold hundreds of them, and they're a fantastic tube, especially in the Wilsonton R8. Great power tubes, and they've started showing up again. So thankfully we've been getting in some more and matching them up. And we're hopefully going to have some more quads available. I think we have one in the store right now.
As an R8 set. And hopefully we have enough that we can just put some quads up. But we're still not seeing huge numbers.
They are trickling in.
Yeah.
And then I think you found this one. We've got a beautiful...
I found a whole bunch of these.
Let me get this... autofocus isn't quite working right here. There we go. We've got a beautiful GE 6SN7 GTB, new old stock.
And this is a good all-around tube, but we really recommend these in the CF, or cathode follower stage.
Yeah, they're just rock solid for that. Great tubes. They sound great too in the voltage gain stage. And I think you just found, was it a sleeve of these?
2 sleeves.
2 sleeves, yeah. So we've got a few of these in the store now. And they are just great tubes.
And we do everything we can to find new old stock, new in the box tubes. They're less of a hassle to deal with. They tend to test better.
They tend to be less noisy.
It is a much larger investment, though, at wholesale and at retail. But I think in the long run, if you can afford it, new old stock, new in the box, if they're available, that's the way to go.
Yep. And look at this beautiful box here. Good example of another new old stock, new in box. Rogers Majestic radio tubes. Now, I think Majestic was a brand of Rogers at the time.
It must have been, but I'm not too familiar with it. But Rogers had a great long relationship with Sylvania.
So let's see what we've got inside this Rogers Majestic box. We've got one of these extra sleeves inside.
I wish every box had a sleeve like that.
Yeah, they're great. And look at that absolutely beautiful label on there. And the tube itself is a Sylvania 6SL7 GT.
Version.
The first version. We've got the sort of offset gray plates. We've got the large chrome with a foil getter on the bottom. And these are just beautiful tubes, and they are one of the ones that we really try to only get them in as new old stock because they're old tubes, they're high gain tubes, and they just tend to be noisy if they're used.
Yeah, these are all dating back to the 1940s. And I mean, you can weed through, and we have weeded through hundreds of used tubes and found good quiet ones, and they'll be fine. But I think it's better to spend the money and get new old stock when it comes to this particular tube. A lot of the high gain early tubes are like that.
Yeah. Anytime you have high gain, if there's any noise present, it's going to be amplified more. So it's just an unfortunate reality with them.
We don't find very many of these, so I think we only put one pair in the store.
Yep. Yeah, not too many, but they're there if you want them. And actually, we were just listening to these in the phono. So let us know how you like the sound.
Were they in the phono?
Yep, that's what we were listening to.
Oh, cool. Okay, well,
All right.
Well done, Charles. Well, if you stayed to the end, here's some discount codes to help you out. And there's a couple of secret codes. One that's really easy to find at the bottom here. You could figure it out. Anybody could figure it out. A 10-year-old could figure it out. And we've got flat rate $20 shipping around the world. We can reach almost everybody for that. And if your order's $150 or more after discount, the shipping's on us, folks. Stay safe, everyone. Have fun. This is Jim.
And Charles.
Signing off. Cheers, everyone.